All right, cool. Let's jump into it.
This is Roadmap to Retirement. Tune in for financial tips, investment strategies, and smart money moves to supercharge your retirement savings. Alex Neri, CFP, and guests are here to help you build your roadmap to retirement.
Today I'm joined by Drew Norton, who will be doing his own introduction. Drew, take it away.
Awesome. Hey, excited first off to be with you today, Alex, and thank you for letting me come on. And I'm Drew Norton. I'm with the Everyday Leader, also known as the Everyday Sales Leader personally, and have a background doing sales for the last 15 years or so of my life. And now what I do is I work with business owners and entrepreneurs and really help them in their sales and their leadership. And I've gotten to know Alex this year, and really excited to be with you today, Alex.
Well, thank you for joining us. It's some conversations I think we have a direct path forward. If I have the CPA on, I know we're talking about taxes. I have an attorney on, I know we're talking about that. And then every once in a while, I come through like an influential business type person like yourself, who I think would be really cool to have a conversation with. And I never know exactly what direction things are going to go. And you and I were talking a few minutes ago before recording this about which way we wanted to take this. We had a lot of ideas we were kicking around. And then we stumbled onto some books that we both read, and we figured, let's start there. So the first one is Psychology of Money, which we both read and enjoyed. And I think it maybe can frame up our conversation for how we're thinking about our approach to money, and that there's no right or wrong answer. And one of the things I liked about that book is it points to, compared to other books, and you made this point already, but if you read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, it's very much about real estate. You can read a lot of books that are all about investing in stocks and bonds and those kinds of things. But Psychology of Money left it a little bit more open-ended, and at least that was my takeaway. What were your thoughts on what that can mean to investors?
Yeah, I think what's interesting about that book is just realizing everybody thinks when it comes to money that we're all very analytical and we're making analytical decisions. And I think it just opens your eyes up to how much it's really an emotional and psychological thing, like the investing in general. And so I think that's been a great thing. I've loved that book because, and I'll be honest, I'm more of the type that likes to invest in real estate, invest in assets that I can get my hands and eyes on, so to speak. Not that I wouldn't invest in, not that I wouldn't buy an annuity or the right insurance product or mutual funds or stocks. And at the end of the day, it's just, I love the idea of invest in what you can, like invest in something that you can still sleep good at the end of the night.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. And I think too many people want to say that this is the way to do it. That's the only answer. And at the end of the day, it's sort of what you're saying. What makes you sleep at night, or what do you just have comfort in investing? Because I think if I say that you should 100% invest all of your money in real estate, but you hate real estate, you're probably never actually going to take action to do it. So if I can meet you where you're at and say, what are you interested in? And maybe it is stocks, bonds, mutual funds, or maybe it is a business or something like that, and it's something you're passionate about, you're way more likely to not only do it, but also make sacrifices to do it. Like you'll give up that night out on the weekend where you spent $200 at the bar if it means having $200 more to put into something that you actually believe in, not just something that an advisor like me is telling you have to believe in, if that sort of makes sense.
Yeah. And we didn't talk about this, but another book I love is The Richest Man in Babylon, and just that idea of always taking your money and having it work for you. And that book doesn't tell you which way you should invest, but I think those are principles that can apply to so many different ways to grow your wealth, grow your income, prepare for your retirement. And I think money is just a fascinating thing to study. And I think there's not just one way to do it. Obviously, there's ways that work for certain people. And that's for me, it's a fun thing to talk about.
I think a lot of people like it. I think you don't have to do it professionally to find a passion for it. We have a ton of clients that we work with that do totally different things, and that's not their day job, but they have this secret passion for it. And we call it, for some people, it's their play box money or sandbox money. And it's, okay, I've got this money that you're handling for me as a professional, and that's like the serious money. But I also have this side pot on like Fidelity or Robinhood or whatever platform where I'm basically day trading. And like, that's a fun thing for me to do. And I think that's all the better. That's how you're going to learn. That's how you can progress as an investor. So it's really cool to see people doing that. What was your journey getting to where you are? So I'll let you give people a better background, but you do some real estate investing and some investing in different things. What was like the first moment for you as a young professional that you're like, hey, I think I might enjoy investing or doing something like that?
Yeah, so to give you the background, when I was in college, I got into door-to-door sales, and I
People love
sold
that.
satellite. Yeah, yeah.
Who doesn't want to
In
have their
fact,
dinner interrupted by this guy?
yeah, you want to
Sorry, I
see
cut
me?
you off. Go ahead.
No, you want to see me knocking on your door at 6 o'clock at night? No. So I, what I realized going through life is I always was hardworking. I grew up in a small town, worked on the farms, worked on the dairies. I took that work ethic in everything I did. What was frustrating is you get into more of the real world, and I often found I was working next to people where I'd be working twice as hard, making the same, maybe 5 or 10 cents more an hour. And so what I really loved about getting into sales was this idea that, hey, the harder I work, the more I can make. I can get paid literally what I'm worth. And so it started there. And I did that really to get through school and to pay through school. It was a job where if you went out and worked hard during the summer, you typically could make a lot more than you could make just working a minimum wage job. Started leading teams as well, doing that. And one of the things I realized is, hey, it's great to go out and make a really good commission selling something. It'd be nice if I could sell something or buy something that continually paid me. And so selling satellite TV, selling pest control, eventually selling insurance, I started to see, hey, as a business owner, there could be ways to have recurring streams of revenue. And so that eventually led to me wanting to invest in real estate. And so I think now between me and my partner, between 15 and 20 doors total, and probably another 10 or 12 properties I've had and sold at one point or another. And I just really became passionate about that. I read the book Rich Dad Poor Dad, immediately went out and bought my first real estate investment. Probably weeks later, a friend recommended the book. That's what got him into it, got me into it quickly. And I've played around. I think I have some of those accounts that I, like you said, do the fun stuff in just to see how it goes, but not super serious. And it's just been something I've loved and I'm really interested in. And that's another thing I found about investing is like it's important to invest in things that you're interested in, at least for me, because I want to be a little more active. I don't want to just put my money somewhere and forget about it. I like to be a little bit involved
Yeah, it
with
makes a lot of sense. I
where my
think your
money's at.
experience, you mentioned you read Rich Dad Poor Dad, and then like immediately you wanted to go invest in real estate, which is awesome. And I've actually, I'm thinking of one friend in particular who might be listening to this. Hi, Mike, who might be listening to this, who read that book also. We had a similar conversation where him and his wife are now thinking about getting into real estate and doing their first investment property. What do you like say to that person? Where's a good jumping off point? I think you look at locally in the Rochester market, real estate's gotten a lot more expensive recently, so it feels
Yeah.
like a hard barrier to entry. But what's the easy advice there?
I really believe in the importance of education, whether you're going to invest in real estate, invest with a financial advisor, whether you're going to invest in crypto, whatever it might be. I think it's important, one, especially with real estate. Like I think what's great about what you do, Alex, is you can guide and lead people into those decisions you make. When you go out and do real estate, like you really are on your own. And so diving into real estate can be like handing someone a loaded gun that doesn't know how to operate a gun. No, and that gets dangerous. There's a lot more risk, and the risk is mitigated by your education. And so if someone was going to get into real estate investing, my advice would be don't just jump right in. Go out and buy some books. Go out and there's meetup groups you can get into, pay for some education in real estate. I've bought several education courses or join masterminds so I could learn and be around like-minded people before getting in the space, because it's not always, and here's the one thing I will tell as a kind of a warning for someone who wants to get into real estate. Sometimes it's painted as this picture of you're going to buy a property and you're just gonna have money come in every month and never have to do anything ever again. And that also isn't true. Like you deal with tenants and toilets, and if you don't have property management, you're the one that gets those phone calls when something breaks. And so that's, once again, that's why I like that book, The Psychology of Money. That if that's not something you want to deal with, you shouldn't invest in it. If you don't want to take on the risk or take the time to get the education, don't invest in that. So I don't know if that answered your question. I started rambling.
I think so. I think the theme is there, educate yourself, don't jump right
Yeah.
in. But then there's also a layer that I think a lot of people struggle with of like taking that too far. They say, I don't know everything. I don't know everything, so I'm not going to start. And the reality is you got to take that first step. And in my opinion, throughout my business career, I find that sometimes just ripping the Band-Aid off or just diving right in has served me well. I think there's a lot of things that I've done in my career that if I had waited until I was totally comfortable and knew everything that I could possibly know, like I just never would have done it. So I think it probably goes both ways.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that too, Alex, that you can study forever. You're never going to know everything the market's going to do, whatever you're investing in. And this is something you can say in almost any type of investment. Just to go in and invest over time, you're going to be better off than trying to time the market or trying to find the perfect investment.
Yeah, I think real estate's a good example of that too. If you were to buy a rental property a year ago, it probably cost you 10% less than it does today.
Right.
Like, what is that 10% worth on a knowledge basis? Is it worth knowing everything now, or would it be better just to get a 10% discount for doing it sooner?
Yeah.
Relate that
Yeah.
to a lot of things.
And I would argue like part of why you should go out and invest is to learn also. I've learned way more. I've gained way more from taking action, whether it's around my finances, around my personal life, than maybe just the cost of whatever it is. So,
Sure. Makes a ton of sense. Moving on from real estate, which I'm sure we could talk about that for hours, but we'll try to
yeah.
circle some other topics as well. You've got a new adventure that I'm part of, so you have this mastermind group. I don't know how much you want to say about that on a recording like this, but
Yeah,
what
sure.
led you to
Happy
wanting to do that?
happy to share a little bit around that. So, back to me in sales, I realized a couple of years ago where I used to think, okay, I'm working really hard and that's why I do well at this. I had this realization that no, I'm actually good at sales. I'm actually good at talking to people, good at communicating. I treat people the right way. And I started in running sales teams, I just started to realize I really loved taking what I had learned and helping create actionable insights that others could go implement and see them succeed. And so it was really satisfying and rewarding to have someone I've worked with in sales that maybe never made more than 30, 40 grand a year make six figures. Like, wow, that's really fun and exciting to see someone do that. And I love sales and I'm still involved in selling. And I believe it's part of everyday life. I love what Chris Voss, he wrote the book, Never Split the Difference, says life is a negotiation. And I really believe you're always going to be selling. You're always going to be negotiating in life. And so that led to me saying, hey, instead of running sales teams, I want to go out and work with individuals, business owners, entrepreneurs, help them get better, whether that's in sales, whether that's in leadership, helping them grow their business. And what that's morphed into for me is one of the things we've started is a group called The Climb within the Everyday Leader. And really we want it to be a place where people can have a community and rub shoulders with other entrepreneurs and have a place of support so they can take the challenges in their business or their life and go out and succeed and win. And because I find, and I don't know if you feel this way at all, Alex, but as an entrepreneur, I feel sometimes you feel like the loner or like the guy that's different. And there's a lot of others, entrepreneurs that feel the same way. So just having a group that can be a place of support and at the same time have some great principles around leadership that are taught is just really our mission to help people live like leaders every day inside of this group.
To your point, I think it's very hard to find a community of like-minded individuals for most entrepreneurs. And it's not to say that there's right, wrong, or different, but 99% of the public is happy just going to their kind of normal W-2 job every day, working their 9 to 5. And to get somebody that even understands what you're talking about when you start to propose the idea of doing something differently can be really hard to find. So I know for myself, it's very important to have a group of people like that I can bounce ideas off of, learn from, and even just push me to do better. So kudos to you, man. Love it.
Thanks. And to that point, I don't think there's anything wrong with those that want to live the 8 to 5 either. For example, my dad's retiring after a career of teaching. He's a church educator and he's worked a very traditional work schedule his entire life and employee. And at the same time, my mother was the entrepreneur of the family and so was her dad. And so I grew up with seeing both sides of it. And there's pros and cons to each side. And I think just back to this idea of money and the psychology of money, just as there's things, invest in what will make you sleep better at night, work a job that you can sleep good at night. If you don't want to go home and stress about business and problems, you probably shouldn't be an entrepreneur. Probably shouldn't
there's
open your
something
own
nice
business.
about going home at the end of the day and just being able to separate work from business. And I think I do a pretty good job of that otherwise. Like I do turn it off at night, but it's hard to,
Well,
like, you're
it's
on
taken me a
vacation,
long
you're getting
time.
emails and you have to deal with it.
Yeah, it's taken me a long time to get to the point where I can turn it off. And so that's something that I don't think some people realize when you get into being an entrepreneur. There's day, I think the idea between owning a business or being an entrepreneur is, oh, I could go work on a beach anywhere or I could take off whenever I want. And sometimes that's true. And there's days where I'm working 6 a.m. and not done till 10 o'clock at night. And so there's just seasons. There's seasons where you're in the business and you're working extremely hard to build it and grow it. And then there's some freedom that is granted with that. And that's not, once again, that's not for everybody.
Yeah. It's a balance. Like, I'm very busy in the spring and the fall. Those are my client review meetings are. That's where I'm trying to meet with every single client. And there's deadlines that go along with that. But the benefit of that is, like, summer's pretty good. Like, I go golfing and I do a
Yeah.
lot of time. I spend a lot of time doing things that don't look like traditional working, but you gotta have that balance. And as a business owner, it allows me to grow and network and meet people. So it's not, it's a different mentality. And I think it takes adjusting for some people.
Yeah, totally.
Do you want to, how do you feel about talking about 75 hard? Should we skip over that, or?
Did you see my post on social media about that?
I don't think I did. Was that today?
Okay. A few days ago. So I
Okay.
failed.
Did you? Oh, I'm
I
bringing
know,
it up
I'm
on the
really bummed.
spot.
I was in Orlando at a conference with a friend and went to bed and forgot to read one night. And day
Oh,
60, I don't know, almost day 70. Now, here's what I will say though. So 75 hard, I don't know if your listeners are familiar with it or not.
yeah.
It's
We might need to
a
back up and say
program.
what it is first.
Yeah, so 75 hard. Who is it put together by? What's his name? I'm forgetting the guy who come up
It
with the
sounds so
program.
bad. I don't know the guy's name. I know there is a guy, and I, like, just heard about it somewhere and ran with it. So we
So,
can look
so
up
the
that
idea is to
guy.
go, yeah, the idea is to go do something incredibly hard. And it's drink a gallon of water a day, 2 workouts a day of 45 minutes. One has to be outside, no alcohol, no cheat meals, stick to a diet, and read 10 pages of a book a day. It can't be an audiobook. And so the idea is do it 75 days. If you fail, you're supposed to start over. And it's been actually really incredible. For me, the hardest, I've already been focused on my health quite a bit the last couple of years. In fact, I don't think I've shared this with you. I stepped on the scale yesterday, Alex. I'm down 100 pounds from my all-time high.
Nice. Congratulations.
So
That's awesome.
really exciting. And this idea of 75 hard is that it can be life-changing doing that for 75 days. One, what I decided to do, even though I failed, was that I decided I'm going to complete 75 hard and finish it, so to speak. I read a book a few years ago called Finished, Give Yourself the Gift of Done by John Acuff. I think it's John Acuff, Acuff. Anyways, he talks about this idea that the day after perfect, a lot of times when we set out goals, what happens when we fail? What happens the day after we're perfect? A lot of times we just throw our hands up and give up. And I wasn't going to do 75 hard through the holidays. I want to enjoy a couple meals, take a little time off, going on a cruise next month too. And so I decided I'm still going to finish 75 hard and complete the challenge. And it's been a super great experience. There's been days where at 11:30 at night, I'm going out and I'm going for a walk to get my outside workout done. And so I think just being willing to do the things you'll say you'll do and the discipline that creates it can be life-changing.
All right. I'm sorry to hear you missed it, but I appreciate you doing it along with me all this time. So for those of you that kind of missed the backstory of this, I think I brought it up with you a couple days before I was planning on starting it, and I started on September 9th, I think it was. And you were in a very supportive way. Like, okay, great, let's do this. And you hopped right on and you were doing it along with me. So I've got you and a couple of other friends that all agreed to do it. And I have, I think, 4 more days left, and then I'm free.
Right.
And to your point, I'm really nervous about the end goal. So, like, I've done this 75 hard thing for the last 71 days or whatever it is now. And I feel really good. Like, I haven't drank anything. I've been eating a whole food diet. I've been exercising, all that stuff. So I feel really good right now. And I'm like, I don't want to spiral out of it, to your point. Like, I don't want that day after perfect thing to come get me. So now I'm trying to figure out, like, how I can continue this healthy lifestyle as long as possible while also allowing myself to enjoy a drink at a friend's wedding and have pizza once in a while, and those things that I also want to be part of my life, even if they aren't, like, optimal for physical health.
Yeah. One thing that's really helped around my health is just creating my own identity around that. And so I think a lot of times we tell ourselves a narrative or story about ourselves, like you're not in shape, or you've got too much fat on your gut, or you always eat like crap. And we just subconsciously tell ourselves all that all the time. And I did some coaching last year and was partnered with a company called the Possibility Co. for a time. I coached with him first, and I had a coach, his name Matt Harrington. He helped me create a document about who I am. And part of that, I decided to create some statements around my health. And so I've just tried to live into this idea that I'm healthy, fit, active, and strong. And what's interesting is I started telling myself, I look back at when that happened, like, I don't know if you use a step counter, I realized my steps doubled since that time. And I think just having an identity that, hey, I'm someone who's healthy and lives a healthy lifestyle has made it way easier to continue this trajectory over time.
Yeah, it makes a ton of sense. I think we can keep talking about books all day, but Atomic Habits is another one where you, rather than putting the focus on being skinny, you start to do what a skinny person would do, if that sort of makes sense. And you can do that with any habit that you want to break in life, whether it's a health one, a business one, whatever kind of goals you have. So cool. I'm glad that you did it with me for 68 days. And I'm glad that you're finishing, even though you missed 10 pages one day. And
yeah, I'm really upset that happened. And I'm like, I'm not going to give up and not complete it. I'm going to just still treat it as if I hadn't missed.
Perfect. Love that. We are getting towards the end of our time here. We got a few more minutes. Is there anything else you want to make sure that we cover?
No, we've got a podcast as well called The Everyday Leader. So if you want to learn about leadership and hear from other amazing people, invite people to come listen to our podcast. It's fairly new. You can find us on all the major podcast subscriptions. I love talking to people about sales, about leadership. I think one thing unique about me is I believe that selling is a form of leadership. Back to that idea that selling and negotiating is part of everyday life. To get my kids to eat their green beans is sales. To help somebody see more of what they could have in their life is a form of selling or persuasion. And so I'm just really committed to helping people get what they want through being able to sell their services, their business. And at the same time, I think you want to also invest in yourself, invest in your future. I love that that's what you do, Alex. You help set people up for a strong retirement.
Absolutely. Cool. Drew, thank you for being here. I appreciate all your insights. I think our conversation went a bunch of different directions, which hopefully can help a lot of people. So to our listeners, thank you for tuning in. Feel free to look up Drew and learn more about himself, his podcast, and everything that he's got to offer. Thank you. Bye.
Content here is for illustrative purposes and general information only. It is not legal, tax, or individualized financial advice, nor is it a recommendation to buy, sell, or hold any specific security or engage in any specific trading strategy. Results will vary. Past performance is no indication of future results or success. Market conditions change continuously. This commentary reflects the personal opinions, viewpoints, and analyses of Alexander Neri. It does not necessarily represent those of RFG Advisory, their clients, or their employees. This commentary should not be regarded as a description of advisory services provided by Alexander Neri or RFG Advisory, or performance returns of any client. The views reflected in the commentary are subject to change at any time without notice. Advisory services offered by investment advisory representatives of RFG Advisory, a registered investment advisor. Alexander Neri and RFG Advisory are unaffiliated entities. Advisory services are only offered to clients or prospective clients where RFG Advisory and its representatives are properly licensed or exempt from licensure. No advisory services may be rendered by RFG Advisory unless a client agreement is in place.